If you have ever wanted to get a glimpse of a community and your foot in the door here in Colorado Springs, stick around to learn more how you can do that.
Hey guys, it's Mindi Linscombe, your host of the Something New Show, and I'm so glad you joined me today. We have a very special guest, actually from Colorado, born and raised, and my friend and successful entrepreneur, Brooke Mikulas. Thank you for being here with me in the studio.
For having me.
I know we joke about how we really never see each other because we're orbiting in this super busy world of work and kids, and she has 3 boys just like I do. I don't know if you should consider going for one more. I got a girl at the end there.
I can't. I cannot. I don't understand how anyone has more than 3 kids.
You're like, it's a lot. It's a lot. I agree. And the ages of your children are 5, 3, and 1, right? Mm-hmm. So that's very busy.
Yes, it is. I might reconsider in a couple years, but then I'll watch all my boys wrestle, and then I'll say, never mind.
I know.
I'm good.
I am really surprised that we went for the 4th one. And then extra surprised that it was a girl because we were planning on, we're like, basically we're going to get 4 boys.
Yeah.
We knew that going into it.
Yeah.
But before we get into all of the lovely things that we have to talk about today, I want to read your bio for our listeners so they know how incredible you are. Not just are you beautiful, but Brooke is nearly a Colorado Springs native. And I want to know why you put nearly in parentheses.
I moved here when I was 2 from California. So.
Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah. After experiencing what she calls outrageous hospitality while traveling the world for a year with her husband in 2016, combined with a deep passion for the outdoors, community, design, and hospitality, in 2021, she co-founded and opened Kinship Landing, which you guys need to check it out. Their Instagram is absolutely beautiful. The 40-room boutique hotel is designed to connect locals and travelers around the outdoor adventure and city exploration, opening the back door to the best of Colorado Springs. Brooke spends her time as wife and mom of 3 tiny humans, which we just talked about, and she is the COO of Kinship Landing. She considers thrifting, anything involving fresh Colorado air in her lungs, and drinking good coffee hobbies worth her time, which I can't wait to try your favorite drink later because I think it might be coffee, which I just want to say, like, I remember 2016. I remember seeing this girl, Brooke, in her cute little newlywed situation. Her and Bobby were going to go travel the world together.
Yep.
And at the time, I was thinking, like, this looks like really fun. Like, I just thought they must be just saying, hey, we want to go do this as a first year of marriage thing just to have a blast. Or maybe it wasn't your first year of marriage.
It wasn't. I'll share that.
Okay, so a few years in or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I thought this looks like a fun thing to do before you have kids. I mean, we took a summer and we did that where we traveled the world for a whole summer before we had kids. But this was different. This was a whole year. And I didn't realize until later that it was purposeful, that the intention was to almost survey the audience of like where are the best places to stay, what are the best. So I want you to talk about that today. And just what a crazy idea to just, I mean, how did you even save for that?
Well, yeah, I mean, Bobby and I both grew up here and we are high school sweethearts, actually. So I was 20 when we got married and we had both done quite a bit of travel individually. But before we had kids, we wanted to travel together. So we were working in community development, nonprofit, church world, and also in college. He studied philosophy and business. I studied counseling. And it took us 6 years. We decided when we got married, let's start saving for this. We got an envelope and we started saving. And it was, I mean, we'd share meals, we sacrificed a lot. It took us 6 years to save to be able to go on that trip. And we still bootstrapped that trip. And we were living out of our backpack. We brought a tent with us. We slept in that tent probably a third of the year. We went to 17 different countries. A big goal was to stay with families as we went. So the entire trip, we stayed in one hotel. And someone bought that room for us, actually. So the whole time we were in homestays, bungalows, you name it, all sorts of different lodging options. And we stayed with a lot of different families. And through that experience, we had set out on that trip and broke that trip up into 3 segments. So the first was to rest. We were exhausted. Our adrenal glands were shot. And we needed time just to like decompress. And then the second was to plan. The second was to dream. And we just wanted to dream about what was next. Like when you're traveling and you're immersed in all these different cultures and different countries, it just feels like it's limitless. Like opportunities are endless. Like the world is at your fingertips. And it was such a great opportunity for us to just dream together. And then the third was to plan. So after kind of that dream segment, and we had all these different ideas on the board, like, what do we want to do when we go home? Like, what's it going to look like? We can do anything we want. What is it going to look like? And we decided in Vietnam, we had 3 different options on the table. And we said, which one are we going to pick? Let's just chase after one of them. And one of them was a hospitality lodging concept back in Colorado Springs, our hometown.
Can you tell us what the other 2 were?
They might come to fruition one day.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see.
So they're still in the dream world.
They are.
They are out there.
They're on the back burner.
But they're out there.
One of them is a youth center that we would love to open in Colorado Springs, but we'll see. Maybe down the road.
Okay, got it.
We're still very like immersed in what we're doing currently. But so yeah, we picked this hospitality concept and we started planning for it. We started putting together a business plan. We even met with coaches like in New Zealand and different places to just kind of help us build. And
can you remember where you went?
All the countries?
Yeah, if like just the majority. Can you remember them?
Yeah, I mean, so we started on a road trip and we went up through Canada, we went to Alaska, then we went over to Iceland, all through Europe. We went to Africa for a couple weeks.
When you say all through Europe, some people really do all through Europe.
Yeah, we did. Well, we did, let's see, I think 6 countries in Europe.
Okay.
Not all through Europe, but we
6
did some.
countries.
We honestly couldn't afford Europe at the time. It was so expensive. And so we were trying to get to Southeast Asia as quick as we could because it's so much more affordable. And then we went to Africa. So we literally went from Italy, we went from Rome to Lusaka, Zambia in a 24-hour period. And I'll never forget like having my last cappuccino in Rome, and then getting into Lusaka, and the place we were staying was like in a pastor's home, and they gave us their best. Like it was a twin pink bed and I walked in and there was a spider like the size of my hand, like right by the pillow. And I was like, wow, this is such a cultural difference. But we were able to experience so many different things around the world, and it was absolutely life-changing. And then Africa, we went to Southeast Asia, and then we spent a lot of time in Australia and New Zealand. We were in New Zealand for 3 months. So through that trip, we landed on this idea. We got back and we hit the ground running. And that was in 2016. I was 27 at the time. Bobby was 28. And so
I was 27 when I started something new.
Oh my gosh. So we are so similar.
Oh my gosh. Okay, keep going.
And it was, we were committed. We said, let's try this. I think we landed on 2 years. We said, let's put 2 years into this and see what happens. And we committed. And one of the things that I always tell people, we get asked all the time, how do you start businesses like this? How do you pull this off? One of the things we did right when we got back is we owned that dream like it was happening. It was real. It wasn't just a prospect one day. It wasn't just an idea. It was, this is happening. Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm opening a boutique hotel in Colorado Springs. Mm-hmm. And people start to help you take ownership of that with you. If it's language like, well, one day I kind of want to do this thing. It's like, it doesn't feel real to them, and it doesn't feel real to you either. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was really important for us as we were hitting the ground running, scheduling meetings with anyone who would talk to us about this thing, because we hadn't done anything like this before.
Yeah.
We had over 300 meetings that first summer we got back. I went back on my calendar and counted all of them because I was like, that was insanity. What just happened?
And who were you trying to meet with? Were you just trying to meet with like lenders, with investors, with
people who are, so first and foremost, this is a community development project. We wanted this to be an asset to our community. On our trip, we experienced such outrageous, what we would call unmerited, undeserved hospitality around the world. People just brought you into their homes, no questions asked. And in Colorado Springs, like our identity here is hospitality. We are a very welcoming city. Our storyline from when we were founded by General Palmer to now is the thread is always hospitality in Colorado Springs. And I think we wanted to take a lot of what we learned on that trip in terms of this outrageous hospitality we were experiencing and bring something like that back to Colorado Springs, something we were proud of that exemplified that kind of hospitality to the people who were visiting, but also to the locals who lived here. So our hotel, the main level, like 90% of the people you'll find in there on a daily basis live here in Colorado Springs. We really wanted it to be a place that locals and travelers rub shoulders and we learn from each other and get to know each other. And it's served that purpose, which is awesome. But as we were sitting down with these people, it was, you name it, lenders, it was community developers, it was people who are placemakers downtown. Honestly, like anyone who would sit down and listen to us, we would talk to them. And that connected us with different investors, with different lenders, with different opportunities.
Because they might say, oh, I love your idea. You should have it at lunch with this person.
Yes. 100%.
Oh, I love your idea. You should have lunch with this person.
Yes. Over and over and over. And we would follow up on them and we would do it.
And were you working at the same time?
We weren't. So we decided to be all in. We knew this project was going to take full-time focus. And so we turned down jobs when we got back and we said, we're all in. Let's go.
Did you have to live with your parents? I mean, what did you do?
No. So we lived with roommates. We bought a house when we were very young, like our first year of marriage, we bought a house.
Okay.
And we had roommates that lived with us always. And so we never paid for our mortgage.
So that's how when you came back, you could dedicate full time because you had this little baby income, I imagine, from the roommates living in the home that you purchased.
We were scrapping.
So maybe there's like, let's just say 3 roommates and their combined payments pay for your mortgage and a little bit extra for groceries.
Maybe a little bit more. I mean, we were pretty good at using credit cards at that time too.
Oh, you're using credit a little bit. Hey, we all have had to do that.
Yeah. And it was a very strategic, like thoughtful process for us. Like it wasn't like, you know, flippant. Like we were very intentional with how we were spending, what we were doing, and what our strategy and plan was.
Got it.
So it worked for us. It doesn't work for everyone, but it does.
Well, I think that one key thing that you just described, and this is what I'm trying to teach my kids to do, is like save up to buy a house as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah.
As soon as you possibly can. No matter what the interest rates are or whatever, buy a house.
Yep.
Because you can get roommates to help you pay the mortgage. And if you're doing this at 20, your mortgage is paid off by 50, and that's just like income.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah. Whole other topic for another day. But
whole other topic, which your mother-in-law is really passionate about too. I've talked to her about that before.
Yes.
She's like, because they're in real estate. And I asked her, I said, hey, I want to raise my kid to be thinking about real estate. She's like, okay, you start talking to him young.
Yep.
And so she gave me all her little pointers, but it's probably why Bobby was thinking, like, let's buy a house.
Oh yeah. He learned it from his parents. Absolutely.
So cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it really did. Bobby and I both can't take credit. Like we formed a team right away. We have co-founders who were smarter than us at what we were trying to accomplish. And we tried to surround ourselves with smarter people who knew what they were doing because we sure didn't. And that's what really ultimately got us to the finish line. We had a community around us and all these different advocates who were helping us get there and accomplish this dream. We went to 30 different banks.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love that you said that because I went to so many banks before we built this.
Yep.
I remember walking out with so many no's. Sorry, no. And even my own bank, you know, like people that knew me that I thought would be told no. Yep. And so I'm just like, I tell people often have a very good plan, but be prepared that you will be told no multiple times.
Yep.
And then I believe that hopefully the right partner sees your vision.
Absolutely.
And that's the person you do want to borrow from.
Absolutely.
Because they're like, yeah, I actually see this being successful.
Yep.
So you finally got a yes?
We finally got a yes. It's a journey. And we had, I would say probably 5 closed doors in the process of developing this concept. So from starting when we got back from our trip to actually opening our doors, I think it was about 4 years, a little less than 4 years.
So you went on the trip in 2016. Mm-hmm. In 17, you come home. You hit the ground running. When did you open your doors?
2021, January of 2021. Wow. So, and we built from the ground up, so that took 1.5 years. And we also opened a hotel during COVID. So that was really fun.
I know. I laugh because I'm like, you said January of 21 you opened?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we opened our doors. I want to say if this building in January of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and then had to shut down as soon as it was open. Like it was
Yeah.
open and then shut down. You're just like, awesome.
Yeah.
And
There's just no playbook.
you just took a huge leap financially, but you have no guests
Yeah,
coming in.
there was no turning back.
So I assume your bank worked with you because you have to have that conversation of like, we understand our business is closed.
Yeah, yeah. I think there was a bit of grace. I think we were very fortunate that like during 2020, construction could continue on for us. Like that was essential work. And so we ultimately that entire year we were under construction and we were building out our operations and hiring our staff. And then 2021, I'll never forget, we had 18 rooms booked our first night. We're a small hotel, we're 40 rooms. So we had 18 rooms booked and our staff was panicked. We're like, what do we do? There's so many people in the hotel. And then over the course of a few months, it started ramping up. And summer, we started seeing more regional travel, local travel. So I think it was actually very fortunate for us because we were able to kind of ramp up and as we were stabilizing and figuring out our operations.
Well, and think of all the marketing you were able to do in 2020 while you were building.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like kind of build the buzz about it.
Yeah, except it kind of landed on dead ears because people were like, well,
we're not traveling.
Deaf ears, not dead ears. We don't want dead ears.
But you're saying they were like, we're not going to be doing that anytime soon.
Totally. Like it was just everything was so unsettled and ambiguous.
But your lender was fine. He just kept going, or she.
I mean, we have a whole, like we've got a ton of investors on board. I think we had, at the time, 19 investors. We have an SBA loan. We have a bank loan. It's a whole package.
It's a whole package. Yeah. So that whole time though, Brooke, you weren't working.
Correct.
For 4 years.
Nope.
And no kids.
I also had 3 kids in that time frame.
Wait a minute. You had your first.
Well, I guess, sorry. I had 2. And then the first year we were open, I was pregnant with our third.
So you just carried on with the big vision.
Yeah. We decided like, hey, we're already in it. So let's just like
keep going
might as well. I mean, yeah. I don't want to be an old lady with kids. So
yeah, you're not an old lady with kids. I love it. Okay. So I'm just excited about this concept too, because if people could see it, the idea of having the main level being so open to the public, mm-hmm. You've got a bar, you've got a coffee option, you've got a restaurant, you've got this beautiful garden room that's mm-hmm. like almost like being in a greenhouse for I've been to private parties there. I've been to live music events and art exhibits.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super community based, and the garden you have outside. Mm-hmm. Just tell me about like the purpose of how it seems when I walk in there, it seems so intentionally designed.
It
that
really
first
was.
level.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me more about that.
And I think that's one thing that we hope for Colorado Springs is that the level of excellence will continue to increase. We were very committed. So I'll just, as a little tangent, I'll share a brief story. At one of the doors that was shut in our face, the day before our groundbreaking ceremony, we are on the property cleaning everything up. So it's just a dirt lot downtown.
Yeah.
And we're cleaning up trash, and we get a call from our contractor. He's like, hey, are you sitting down? We're like, well, no, we're cleaning. We're picking up trash. He's like, you need to sit down. So we go and sit in the truck. This is our partner, Nate, and Bobby and I. And he says, I just want you to know, we haven't even broke ground and we're $2 million over budget. We're like, okay. Deal is dead. Like there is no possible way we can move forward. We had a groundbreaking ceremony the next day. The mayor was coming. Everyone was coming to this event.
I mean, even our governor has come to your hotel.
Yeah,
like you are a big deal.
Oh,
you are a big deal. So you're ready to have a groundbreaking ceremony.
And we're like, do we move forward with it or not? Because we don't see how it's possible to move forward. But also, like, if you cancel the groundbreaking ceremony, like you just lose all your momentum.
100%.
And so we decided to move forward with it. And we put our smiling faces on. We had no idea how it was.
Who knew?
No one.
That day, it was just you, Bobby, and Nate. Did your parents even know?
I think we might have told family. And we went through with it. We smiled. We did all the interviews for news. We had no idea if it was actually going to work. And then one of our mentors through the whole process, he sat us down at our kitchen table and he said, you got to keep moving forward, figure it out. And I think, and that's one of the things I share with people all the time. Do the hard stuff. Like, you have to figure it out. You are going to have doors shut in your face over and over and over. You have to roll your sleeves up and figure it out. And so we completely re-strategized. We completely restructured our company. It was so difficult, but we moved forward. And
what do you mean restructured? Because to me, that means like maybe payroll looks different or whatever. But I'm like, you can't change construction costs.
We did.
You did?
That was part of it, is we had to value engineer our property. So the building that we were going to build, and what we actually built, it looks completely different. But I try not to tell people that.
But what you built is beautiful.
It is. It's absolutely gorgeous.
But you had to really reevaluate. But do you have the same amount of rooms?
We do.
So to me, like when you think about income.
Yep. Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean,
okay. There's more. It's complicated.
Like, it is complicated.
Complicado. No, but it's like you have the same amount of rooms, but maybe you had to give up some meeting spaces or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying, I understand. You had to go back to the drawing board.
Most of the things people would never notice. It's just things that we would notice that we maybe wanted incorporated into the concept. But I think it was one of those moments of, okay, we're either going to push through and pull out everything we had inside of us. I mean, we woke up the next morning and after groundbreaking and said, we got to keep going.
Yeah.
There's no turning back.
No turning back. So, and how did you come up with the name?
Well, when we had traveled, we called that Kinship Travels. So the whole point of that trip was to go find the global family and go spend time with families around the world. And so we were after we had decided we were going to start this hospitality concept, we were talking to a friend of ours and we're like, we're trying to decide on a name. Like, what do we call it? Should we call it the Fort? Should we call it the Colorado Springs Hub? Like, we just had terrible names for it. And one of our friends on the phone was like, no, this is like the next chapter of kinship for you. Like, this is like the next stage of what you guys have experienced around the world. Why would you not continue that story on? So we decided to move forward with kinship. When we were in New Zealand, my sister-in-law was like, how about landing? Put landing at the end of it. I was like, done. Let's do it. Kinship Landing.
I love it.
Yeah.
And why did you stay so long in New Zealand? I'm so curious.
Oh, because we just loved it so much. That's our plan B in life. Just go to New Zealand.
Really?
The people are incredible. The landscape. There are no predators in New Zealand. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that country.
I love it. But you really enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
That is, I didn't know if it was like a price savings thing or you had a special friend there that you got.
No, New Zealand's actually pretty expensive, but.
So did you have a place to stay? A friend's house?
We bought a camper van and we lived in a van for 3 months.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And you just.
Yes, it was nice most of the time, except for when we were in a fight and I had to go to the back of the bus and he had to go to the front of the bus if we wanted to have any space between us.
There's a shower though and everything.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
No, where did you shower?
Well, New Zealand is actually really amazing. They have an app and it's one of the best countries in terms of like resources for travelers. And so like showers and trash and like they have these things called dock sites where you can come and they just have everything you could possibly need as a traveler. Free sites for you to camp on and sleep on with your van. Like, it's incredible. Yeah.
Oh, side tip. That'd be a fun thing to do. Would you ever do that with your boys?
Absolutely.
You would?
Yes. There were so many families doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Would they buy a vehicle down there or would they rent one?
They rent one. Yep.
Okay.
Tons of rental companies. Highly recommend New Zealand.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well, thinking back to the entrepreneur journey, do you still feel like you're striving today, I know there's a little settledness, but
yeah,
as people ask me that, I'm like, no, I feel like I have I feel that I have the same pressure, just more zeros are behind it.
Yeah.
But how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think I started as general manager of the property. And so I opened the property. I was on site. Bobby and I were working the night shifts. Like, we'd split from, 11 to 3 a.m. I would do it. And then from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. he would do it. And then we would start our day with our kids or whatever. It was full on. And so the thing about hotels is they're open 24/7. You don't get to lock the doors. You don't get to
say we're closed.
Yeah. You don't get to hang your hat. It's all the time. And I think that was, a little bit overwhelming for us, especially trying to raise a family. And so after a year and a half, and once we were pretty stabilized, I stepped down from GM when I had my third son. And so as COO of the company, still full on, there's still a lot that I'm responsible for on a daily basis. And this business is our baby and we love it. And our team is incredible. Our staff is amazing. We've got about 50 employees. But ultimately, like we had to get to a more sustainable place. And I feel like we're there, which is good. It took some fighting.
So you mean you're sleeping at night?
Well, in terms of the business, yes, but my kids, maybe not.
I love it. I love it. But you're still working. I mean,
yeah,
that's a lot of time still as COO. And then he's also...
my husband's a CEO, yep.
And he's there most of the time? Or is he also...
He's dabbling in lots of things. But yes, it's his primary focus right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, right?
Absolutely, yep.
Well, do you have any tips for our listeners that come to mind to you if they are thinking of starting a business or maybe they're in that 4-year span? I mean, I loved what you already spoke about with like just talk as if it's happening.
Yes.
But are there any other wisdom nuggets that Brooke Mikulas has?
Yeah.
For people, like I said, it could be thinking about starting a business or they're in the thick of the 4-year process.
Yeah. I think kind of going along with the story thread of today, one is surround yourself by smarter people. You are not going to be able to do it by yourself. If you want to do something big and you want to make an impact, it won't just be done by you. It will be done by a community of people and advocates who are there for you and fighting for you. So find who those people are. Put yourself out there. Talk about the dream like it's real. We always say a dream vocalized is a dream realized. If you don't vocalize it like it's real, it's not going to happen. I would say be committed to the hard stuff. You got to know you're gonna be in the thick of it. It's going to be challenging. You're going to be faced with so many doors closed in your face, and you got to just pick yourself up and start over. And that can be really challenging for people. You know, I think for Bobby and I, we were fairly risk adverse. We're fairly risk adverse people in general. Some people are not, and that's okay. Like, this is not for everyone. It really does take a certain level of grit and gut and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I was going to say put yourself out there. That is exactly what I wanted to commend you for, because I think that most people with rejection aren't able to recover quickly. Mm-hmm. And when you're an entrepreneur, you are getting rejected
over and over,
multiple times a day.
Yeah.
You know, I have an idea. No, that's a stupid idea. Yeah. Let's do this as a team. Oh, I don't know if that's going to work. You know what I mean? Or, hey, I want to borrow millions of dollars. No, nobody's going to give you the money. Yeah. And then you have to literally have the mindset of, I can push through that. Mm-hmm. And what's hard, Brooke, is I'm sure you could relate to the fact that sometimes it's people you love that close the door. Mm-hmm. And that's hard, I think, relationally.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to say anything about that? Does anything
We were fortunate. Our families are so supportive of us, like almost to a fault. Like, we could try anything and they'd be like, you got this, even if it was a terrible idea. So I felt like we were so supported by our community and our family. I can't really speak to that as much, but yes, I know that is a thing for many people.
Well, or even friends that like you thought they'd really believe in the idea. And
yeah. Like, I think it was more like, you know, especially with banks, like you'd walk in and their loan officer thought it was an awesome idea because, you know, they're usually a little bit younger and understand like a concept like this. But then you'd get further down the road with these banks. And I mean, I heard over and over, well, I wouldn't stay there if it were me. It's like, I know, but like, what about other people who would stay there? And so I think it was more the discouragement of people just not believing or seeing your dream over and over and over. Mm. And that was really frustrating. Yeah. This is like you're trying so hard to portray something that you really believe is going to work and they're just not getting it. And that's really difficult. And those aren't your people. So you move on and you find people who are your people.
And you have to move on quickly.
Yes.
Because otherwise you can
pivot.
You can sit in self-defeat.
For sure.
And wonder if their opinions about you are really true.
Yes.
And that's something that you have to actualize and say, okay, those opinions about me aren't true. I actually know this to be true about myself. And I know I'm going to work no matter what. Mm-hmm. I'm going to work hard enough to make it work.
Yep. Absolutely.
So continue. I just thought the relational part was interesting.
I think another big one for us, which I haven't even spoken of yet, is holding true to your core values. So when we first started, I think we created our LLC and then started working on our operating agreement and our values. And we have stuck to those values since day one. We will not stray from that. So every decision we make is through the lens of our 5 core values. Courage, generosity, trust, adventure, community. Those are our 5 core values. And one example of that, there was an investor that we were meeting with, and all of our investors are in Colorado. Majority of them are actually based in Colorado Springs. They're all people who deeply care about this community. And there was a gentleman that we were introduced to, and he was going to get us over the finish line. He was all in, ready to go. It was a large, large sum of money. And we had coffee with him, talked for a couple hours, gave him the full pitch, and Bobby and I walked out the door and we're like, this is what pushes us over the finish line. Like, we're here. We're done raising money. And it was very difficult. We spent 2 years raising money for this property, for this concept. And we walked out those doors and we said, he's not our guy. There just are too many contradictions with our values, and we're not willing to move forward with this.
Wow.
And so we turned him down. We said, thank you so much, but no thanks.
Wow.
And so that's one example of many over the years that I truly believe we are one of the biggest reasons why we are where we are today is because we are not willing to negotiate on that. Our 5 core values is the lens for every decision.
Well, and you had discernment to link up with the right people.
Yeah.
That took an enormous amount of faith.
It did. Because we're like, we could be done right now. Nope. Keep going.
Wow.
So.
That's so good. I don't want to take you away. Did you have anything else that comes to mind, or I have more questions?
No, yeah,
for you.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm like, do you have more? Because I just think
plenty of stories.
At some point, what's the expectation that you were told or that you would hope for that this new business, how many years before it would flip and become profitable?
Well,
I just like people to have a realistic understanding.
It's very tricky because we are not your typical hotel. There's no recipe we can follow. Boutique properties are popping up here and there. It's definitely like the more trending hospitality concept right now, but we can't just take a 250 room Marriott recipe and use that for us. And so a lot of this journey has been a learning process and writing our own recipe for what this is going to look like. But yeah, it's a long-term play. Like it's years and years of investing and putting our hearts and soul into this, especially because travel trends are so hard to predict right now with COVID, post-COVID. So things are just so wonky. You can't there's no year that we can compare to because travel trends are shifting all the time, and you just have to stay on your toes and
be ready for anything.
Be ready for what's next. But it usually takes a few years for a hotel to stabilize, and that's when it's not COVID. So we have been fortunate. Our community has totally, like we always say, the best thing to do is to host people in your own home. But if you can't do that, you've got a guest house in Kinship Landing, and we'll take care of your people.
Yeah.
But I think, it's a learning ride. We're figuring it out. And
so do you feel like you still dream as an entrepreneur of other things that you want to do?
All the time. And
so what do you do with that? Because you're in the reality of I'm raising kids, mm-hmm. but I also have more dreams.
Yeah. I mean, we're working on all sorts of things all the time. And I think for me right now, I have been convicted of just being so present to my kids right now. For a while, like when we opened Kinship, I had childcare 7 days a week. Thank goodness for grandparents who live here, because we would not have been able to make it without them. But I think I really want to make sure that I'm putting a lot of time and energy into my kids, especially before they're school age. Mm-hmm. And so that really has been my primary focus, even though there's some other things I'm working on the side during nap times and stuff like that. And same with Bobby. He's always dabbling in things, but it's I think it's important to know what your main focus is and stick to that.
Yeah, and possibly this might be the season where you're like, okay, let's just keep this main thing going strong.
Yeah.
And then when the time arises and you have a little bit more availability, because time is our greatest asset.
Yes.
And it's, it runs out.
Yep.
So you can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
Absolutely.
So I love that you're spending some time with your kids. Do you have any special travel plans coming up this year?
My oldest son and I are going to visit my brother and his wife in Boston in 2 weeks, which I'm super excited about. I think traveling with a 5-year-old is actually going to be so fun. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's easy.
My brother's a smarty pants. He's at MIT this year for a program, so I'm really excited to be with them. But
okay, yeah. And how do you travel now? I mean, I'm just thinking now that you have this like very specific idea of what an experience in another country with a family and all of that looks like. How do you travel with your whole family?
We get that question a lot, actually. So the first couple of years we tried international travel, like mostly to Mexico, and with kids, we were like, this is kind of a waste of time. You're just bringing your schedule to a different location. It's like you still have the nap times, you still have the tantrums and all this stuff. It almost makes it harder because then you're like, well, but they don't sleep well in that pack and play and all that. So we decided like the first 5 years of their lives, let's just focus on home and like regional travel. And so, we had like a van this summer that we used and traveled all over Colorado. And we try to just stick to Colorado for now. And then when they're a little bit older, we have so many relationships around the world. We're super excited to go spend time. Like we want to go to Zambia and be there for a month with our kids and just let them farm and learn the way of life there. And hopefully we'll be able to do that as they continue to get older.
They're so fascinating. Yeah. I love it. I love it so much. Well, I know we could talk forever, but I want to just keep this conversation going, Brooke. We might need to have you back about being a mom, a successful COO, and just starting something from the ground up. Definitely, if somebody wants to follow or check it out, where can they find Kinship on social media?
Kinship Landing, at Kinship Landing. We have a website that has every resource or detail you could ever need, www.kinshiplanding.com. And then come on by. We're downtown. We have an amazing cafe and bar. I can't take credit for it because it was a lot of other smart minds who put this concept together inside Kinship Landing. It's called, did I say Homa Cafe and Bar?
No, you didn't say Homa yet.
Yeah, it's Homa Cafe and Bar. And really good, healthy, hearty food that you're not going to feel bad about eating.
I can definitely say that. Very good menu down there.
Thank you. Send your family, friends our way. We would love to host them.
It's a very, like she said, unique experience. It's not your typical hotel experience. I mean, there are beautiful rooms, but then there's also places that you can camp. Yeah. Like literally camp on the second floor. You walk in and there's this whole outdoor space with green grass and you bring your tent. I saw this older couple on Instagram the other day that they like literally brought their backpack. Like they went backpacking.
Oh my gosh, she was so cute. Their names were Lee and Lee. And she was turning 78.
And she wanted to go backpacking, but they probably couldn't, right?
Well, she can actually. She does, but it's her thing that she likes to drink her wine and stay in that camp deck. And she sets up her tent. And their rule is they can only use the stairs. They don't use the elevator. And they go downstairs and have cocktails and come back up and camp outside. And she's going to do it every year until she can't.
I love it. Well, that's an easy way to go backpacking, though.
Oh, it is. And it's a really good entry for kids. So, like, if you want to feel it out, but there's, like, a nice bathroom attached to it, a heated bathroom, with a shower and a toilet and a sink. Yeah. It's kind of like a nice middle ground for people who are just trying to get into camping.
I mean, I am amazed at the amount of ideas that you don't have a shortage for. So I love it. I love getting down there, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What's your favorite coffee? Because we're about to try it.
Iced oat milk latte for sure.
Iced oat milk latte. Okay, we're going to bring it out. And something we do here is I'm going to try your iced oat milk latte. I feel like I've had one before, but never from this coffee shop. So I'm excited to try it. And then we can do a cheers. Okay. Oh, wait, let's cheers first. Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
To good friends. Delicious. Well, it's comforting. I know we don't see each other much, but I want to say it's very comforting. And I hope you guys have people like this, where even though you're on the complete opposite end of the town and, you know, your neighborhood and your community, you're working and you're being a light in it. It's just so comforting. Even though I don't see you often, I feel like I'm kind of holding the fort down up here, and we're like-minded in the sense of we're doing the mom thing, doing the dream thing, and working really hard. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration to many women that are trying to do it all. So
thank you.
Thanks for being here today. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share it with your friends, because we'd love for them to benefit from some of these amazing conversations like we had today with Brooke. Again, thanks for joining us on the Something New Show. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow The Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.